Welcome back, guys, to another video. In this video, I really want to talk about some of the most common mistakes recruiters are going to continue doing in 2026 and beyond. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Preston. I'm a professional recruiter running and scaling my own agency. I started in the trenches in 2014 at a job in New York City, paid me $30K a year. It was at that time an award-winning recruitment firm. Hit about 300 recruiters nationwide. Quickly became one of the top producers in a year, breaking records, 500K, 100K per month. And then literally a year after, decided to start and bet on myself. Did between 500K, 800K every single year consecutively for the last 10 years on my desk, made multiple seven figures, changed my life. And now I'm just really excited to talk about industry that literally changed my life on a completely different trajectory. So if you're experienced, looking to level up, or if you're looking at recruiting for the first time because you're intrigued, you're at the right place, and I appreciate it. The first thing I really want to talk about is how important it is to understand the fundamentals. And what I mean by this is if you want to reach any level of success in any industry, you got to be able to understand the fundamentals. So what do I mean by that? So if you're looking to become a advanced mathematician, once upon a time, you have to understand basic mathematics, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. If you want to be a professional F1 driver, ultimately, when you start, you're going to have to understand what does a steering wheel do? What does a gas pedal do? Shifting gears, applying that any other career, psychologist, software engineering, a teacher, you have to start somewhere. Same thing with the recruitment, right? And when you look at recruitment, people are going to really ask themselves, oh my goodness, like it doesn't seem that complicated. Like you don't need to go to graduate school. You don't need any advanced certifications to be a recruiter. I think the bar is set in a way where anyone can be a recruiter, but that doesn't mean anyone will be a good recruiter, right? And so in recruitment, it's a people-to-people business. And so you're working with companies, you're working with other human beings, and conceptually you're like, oh, okay, I need to find people who are hiring, I need to find people who are looking for jobs, kind of put them together. And then if I do that, I get paid, cha-ching, life is great, you're rich, right? But there are a couple of things I really want to go over. Number one, there is a real chance of you just being wildly inefficient. To do recruiting well, you have to do a lot of small steps manually or even with technology, right? But even if you've never taught, you never learned the best practices, you don't really know what the steps actually are. So like, how do you know what steps to optimize if you don't even know what the correct steps are? And if you never had like proper training, you never really learned it properly, best practices, you're just gonna kind of figure it out and wing it. And while it's possible, like it's very difficult to be sustainable long-term. Yes, maybe perhaps you can luck out, find short-term results, but can you continue to find mid-term results and long-term results and still be here 10 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years from now? Because that's what I care about. I don't care so much about how much money you're making now. Can you be around 6 months from now? Can you be around 12 months from now, right? I've been here over a decade, every single day in the trenches, because we show up, but we also adapt, but also everything that I do is building off the level of foundation that I learned over a decade ago. So number one, you can be wildly inefficient. So what I mean by that is like for you to get simple, typical result A, you have to do, let's say, if you understood best practices, it'll take you 5 steps to do that. If you're inefficient or you perhaps are just winging it, it could be taking you 10 to 15 or 20 steps to get to the same result. You still get to the same result, which is great, but you're working 10 times harder, right? And because of that, gets to point number 2, there is a real chance of you simply burning out, working just around the clock. People love to make money. People want a successful business, but people also want to have a life, right? And when I started my first 5 years, I was burning out 2 or 3 times hard every single year. Number one, I did everything manually, even though I had good fundamentals. But my real excuse is AI automation didn't really exist when I started. You have no excuse to burn out now because of the technology and because of the information widely available. But number 2, I remember how hard it was to unplug from family dinners, friends, or even on vacation. Like as soon as I would turn my phone on after I get off the plane, I'd be so stressed. Interviews or sourcing or clients, candidates, emergencies, right? It's really, really important to understand best practices, to be able to understand how to fully draw out the boundaries, how to time manage, how to time block so that you can actually have a peace of mind when you're not on your phone or computer 24/7. Number 3, you don't want to just burn yourself out. You don't also want to burn bridges. So I think if you do things incorrectly, like people are going to remember how you make them feel. So if you approach them like a spammer, like someone who wastes time, someone who's just trying to take, people are just simply not going to want to work with you. And if you burn one bridge with a client, they may never want to work with you ever again. If you're going to do recruiting, might as well learn how to do it properly once and for all. Same thing with candidates, right? We always want to approach any stakeholders with utmost respect and decency and do things correctly instead of just trying to like throw stuff against the wall, see what sticks. And that's like the worst way to burn all bridges. You can simply also create bad habits. Like let's say that, you've gotten accustomed to doing 20 steps to get result number 1. It just becomes muscle memory, unfortunately, in the wrong way, right? And so you become a little bit more stubborn, perhaps less open-minded to learn how to do it properly. And you're kind of stuck there for better or for worse. You then end up leaning on hiring and tech as a silver bullet. I think this is one of the most common sub points to this main point I want to talk about. I think when you come into business, depending on businesses, you can actually run a successful business if you just have the right hire, if you have the right technology and stuff like that. In recruitment, industry is going through a seismic change right now where like technology, best practices, the landscape is changing so rapidly. So the issue is like, let's say you don't know how to go out there and get clients, and you're like, I'm just gonna go hire someone how to get clients. If they don't know how to get clients, you're screwed. If they know how to get clients in the past, it doesn't mean they can still get clients now, because it's completely different. You see, client acquisition has changed so much in the last 2 to 3 years than the last decade, where you could get by with a generic email or a call or your referrals or networks, but that's not good enough now. Like, you have to almost be a professional, B2B outbound sales professional, following up, call to action, targeting, cadence, channels. Every single thing has to be perfect. And if you're not going to put in the time to put into it, or let's say that you hired someone and they're not even updated on current best practices, they're not going to do anything for you, let alone it's a huge risk and expensive error for you to make. Same thing with technology. Like, what's the point of getting into a car with all the amazing tech in there if you don't even know how to drive it, right? Technology is amazing. It amplifies your foundation. And even if technology can get you results, if you don't have foundational fundamentals, you simply still would not be able to find success. You wouldn't know how to close or pitch candidates. You wouldn't know how to close clients, etc. And now this leads us to our last point. Recruiting is one of the best businesses if you know how to do it correctly. But if you're just like, riding your coattails on just one client, or it's amazing or it's not amazing, it's amazing, it's not amazing, and you're kind of getting ping pong between both extremes because it's very inconsistent, you don't really have stable results, it could also feel the most painful business on the planet. And I would honestly hate that for you. And so the easiest way is to learn the fundamentals so that you can stabilize your business, understand truly how to get client acquisition in 2025, 2026 moving forward, so that you can really maximize the funnel, maximize conversations, maximize convert to paying clients, and now maximize stability in terms of placements and money coming in. Real quick, if you ever thought about starting your own recruitment agency, or you're a recruiter struggling to land clients, you'll want to check out our coaching and implementation program. Inside, I give you the exact scripts, the outreach templates, and acquisition systems I used to hit over $500,000 my first year, scale to over $100,000 months, and do over $5 million in placements on my own desk. Our students are already hitting $30,000, $50,000, even $80,000 per month or more. Many of them doing it part-time. So if you want to learn the same playbook, the link's below. It's exactly what I use. Now back to the video. This is simply a case of like, you don't know what you don't know, right? And you can't blame yourself. But a lot of people I know also start recruiting agencies without official training, and they're doing just fine. But it's also like what they're doing right now, that's the reality. They can't understand that they can do a lot more. So I have conversations with people and like, hey, I'm making 200K. I'm making, 300, 400, 500K. And that's great. That's truly impressive. But the question I ask myself is like, is that luck? Is that really skill? Can they actually continue doing that every single year? Or are they just like starting at the right time? Couple things kind of cross section created just a combination of like a very lucky, they're just catching like a great wave that they're riding on right now. So is that based on external variables and situations, not so much like the internal confidence on execution and skill, right? So like, even though 200K sounds great, in recruitment, they're on the direct side, you're only looking at like 10 placements, right? And you could do 10 placements by luck. But again, is that skill? And can you continue to do that? And then can you establish a baseline and then grow on top of that, right? Technology, again, builds off of fundamentals. You can't skip it. Anything anyone does on the planet in life, you got to start somewhere. It starts with the fundamentals, and then you can get fun with all the bells and whistles and all the technology and stuff like that. So that's my advice number one. When it comes to mistake number two, there is a danger of hustling too hard. Now, when you are a entrepreneur or a solo or freelance or someone looking to start a business, I'm all about hustling. I'm all about working hard. There's no shortcut, right? I think if you're not willing to work at all, you're not going to get any results. But I think piggybacking off of like my main first point on the previous slide is there's a danger of hustling too hard, especially if you're going off track, bad habits, and things like that, right? So I'm all about working hard, but now with technology and system, I want you to continue working hard, but you also now got to be working smart with technology. Technology, AI, automation, do not be afraid of it, especially in recruitment. In fact, we are embracing. I'm so pro AI because AI allows recruiters to be super recruiters, to allow us to do things that we are meant to do. Stakeholders, communication, closing, right? Final offers, building relationships. AI can't do that. What AI can do, what technology can do, is save us time every single day that we have otherwise put into mundane tasks like researching, sourcing, saving on lists, prospecting, things like that. I don't want to spend my time doing that. I don't want you to spend your time doing that. And so the danger here is just like understanding in your own world what recruiting is and just like trying to hustle and work your way. And while that's great, it comes to a point where you don't have to do that, where if you can match the hustling, the physical aspects of it with technology, my God, you'll be able to go 3, 5, 10x way more faster and further than you can actually think. Researching 20 to 30 companies back in the day, plus outreach and the hiring managers or the decision makers at companies would take me like a whole day, right? 10 years ago. And now because of technology, it doesn't even take me a couple minutes a day to do that same result. And so while I'm working hard and I'm really grateful for the first couple of years, and I'm really grateful for the the first like 5-6 years, I did everything manually, really building that work ethic. I'm a lot more grateful now for technology. You don't understand how big of a game changer that is, because I can just do the same thing, but do much less now in terms of exertion. Technology and systems, this is why I always call it the great equalizer. This is why a solo recruiter, one person by themselves can outperform and outcompete much larger ones, especially if they're inefficient and fully manual. This is why it's easier than ever to start a recruitment business part-time or on the side than it was 7 to 10 years ago, right? And I think like, while my point about working smart is paramount, it should never negate and should always respect the point of like hustling and working hard is very, very important. Kind of like a foundation. But you don't just have to get success just working hard, burning out in recruitment in 2025 and 2026. Understand technology, understand the AI and automation here is our friend. I'm so pro tech and I'm so excited on how this technology will continue to evolve and allow us to do our jobs better for candidates and for companies moving forward. This next mistake I want to talk about is people just doing client and candidate acquisitions separately, right? So what do I mean by that? Let me know if this sounds familiar. So let's say that you are a brand new recruiter, or maybe you're an experienced recruiter. Step number one, I got to go out there and find a client, right? I got to go out there, have conversations, have intake calls, get job orders. And then as soon as I get that filled, I switch and then I start looking for candidates, right? I source them, I submit them, and hoping to God that I get a placement. Whether or not you close it or that closes by itself, then you have to kind of switch gears again to go out there and find clients. But understanding every time you switch gears, you're leaving the other side completely stagnant and idle. What if you could be finding clients? What if you could be finding candidates both literally at the same time? So what if you could be finding clients, you close them at the same time, you can start a search, but while you're starting a search, you are still finding clients, so that while you are starting a search, you're still building your book of business, so that when this source pass is done, you can then switch gears and find candidates for others and manage now, instead of a desk with one client and one candidate and waste time in between, zero wasted time, a very healthy book of business with a lot of clients, with a lot of interviews going on, with a lot of candidate searches going on simultaneously at the same time. That's what gives you consistency. If you just ping pong in between one client and one candidate, you're going to go up and down, up and down. Point number two, you just also don't know if that client is actually a good client. Are they super responsive? Are they, accessible? Do they want to hire like yesterday? Do they operate with the speed of urgency? Do they move super fast? What if you get one client and what if they're horrible to work with? Slow, impossible. They're looking for a unicorn. They do not take like suggestions or advice constructively. It's impossible to even chat with them or connect with them, right? Then your business is going to be slow like molasses. So by being able to have client and candidate acquisition going rapidly at the same time, you hedge your business from just being stuck with one client. And at the same time, you hedge your business working with one client that may or may not have a great candidate kind of pipeline, and you're working with others that are moving simply a lot faster. This is why a lot of recruiters today are experiencing feast famine cycles. When you're sourcing candidates, you're not talking to clients. When you're talking to clients, you're not building candidate pipeline. You're always just 6 weeks away from zero revenue. And I was there and I know how stressful that is and how you truly can't feel at peace sleeping at night, because you know that everything can stop at any given second. Ideally, again, just to really kind of make the point clear, you want client acquisition to constantly run to create constant conversations with new clients, while ultimately allowing candidates to continually run, so you're continually getting engaged for each role, building that really healthy pipeline. This helps you, again, run multiple clients while qualifying and submitting for candidates in all roles efficiently without losing time. Time is the great equalizer, and it's also the greatest killer. Whenever that there is time wasted, that is so harmful to your business. And so by doing this, allows you to be efficient, moving at a speed of light, momentum, your desk is humming with activity, and now you can not just be hopeful for one placement, but for multiple placements at the same time. The last thing I want to go over is the mistake of just not validating your niche. So I talked about this a lot before, but in my opinion, there's no best niche, there's no worst niche. I think if you know how to effectively go out there and get clients, and assuming that you validate your niche correctly, you can absolutely run a successful and profitable business in all of those niches. And so to talk about this final point, a lot of people just simply do not make the mistake of validating the niche. So 80% of recruiters, they make this mistake in 30 days. What beginners think, they'll think this: hey, I'll just recruit for technology. Everyone needs tech people, or I'll just do healthcare. Everyone needs healthcare. There's tons of demand. They're always hiring. They pick based on what sounds good, common sense, or what they read in an article. No validation, no data, just guessing, right? This is what experienced people might think. Hey, I've got relationships in finance. That's my market. But the issue is they're never going to revalidate that market. They're never actually going to check if their market is still in demand, still paying well, still growing. Then they wonder why they're just getting destroyed by someone who just started 6 months ago with zero finance connections, but they validate their market systematically. The niches and markets must be validated, and only once that holds true can you create and and run a profitable business in this space. And so the old way of thinking recruiting is you got to pick a niche first and start from there. But for me, it's like, yeah, I think there is benefits of picking a niche, being specialized. You don't want to be too general, but you don't need to waste as much time as you think picking a niche, because first of all, you can always change it. And second of all, once you understand how to actually validate a market, is it big enough? Is it growing? Are there players? Are people actually hiring? Salary looking good, right? Going through this checklist, then you can actually operate in any industry possible. Then the only other additional time it'll take upfront is like kind of learning about the niche. So that's why if you've been talking to me, you've worked with me, or you hear my videos, I always say, yeah, pick a niche where you might have pre-existing relationships or knowledge or a passion, because then you naturally already learn about that space. You're not starting from zero. But if you're like, hey, I really think that like legal really interests me and I don't know anything about it, then simply like the next, 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months is all about absorbing and getting obsessed with all things legal, so you can kind of ramp up, build that credibility in front of candidates and clients, right? But I think at the core, where all of that's important, it just comes down to like whatever niche you're going, is it validated? Because if it's not validated, your business will never get started, or it'll never grow, and you're just never going to be able to build like the income or the lifestyle that you want. So validating a niche is super, super important. We very much use data and market intelligence, absolutely crucial here and pivotal here. Kind of like starting any business, you want to make sure there's a market out there, right? Basic 101, same thing here. There's endless amount of sectors and niches that you can pick. Just make sure it's validated, it makes sense, and then I want you to go out there and crush it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want me to make more videos about the most common mistakes that recruiters do, comment down below. But I really appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.